everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Relationship Entertainment TV. I'm your host, Felicia Dortch, with the news you can use and the ish you don't want to miss. I know you guys have missed me. I was out with my twins for spring break. I know you're probably thinking, how on earth does she have spring break? Isn't her children homeschooled? Yes, but we still follow an actual school ISD, independent school district calendar. So whatever the calendar do, that's what we do for homeschool. And I'm very structured, so I'm pretty sure they needed the break just as much as I did. So, but otherwise, I am back and I'm ready. I am ready to kick the rest of this season off with Relationship Entertainment TV. So as I promised, I'm going to give you a fact every time I come on and give you the news. Okay, so on today, March 25th, the Selma March is completed. So Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., along with other notable civil rights leaders and thousands of supporters, reached Montgomery, Alabama after marching 4 days from Selma. So that happened today, way back when, in 1965, but it happened on March 25th. So let's jump right into the news you can use. Now, this was a little different type of story, and the reason why I'm bringing it to you is because all of us can relate, and once I tell you about it, you will understand why. As this year has passed, or as this year is going, I should say, because we're only in March, and the years pass, we've dealt with racism on some type of level. Last year, it seemed like it was on a larger scale with police brutality, and some of the hard conversations were being had in homes all around America, especially with mine. You know, I'm a boy mom. I have a 14-year-old that looks like a grown man. So I'm constantly giving him, we're constantly talking about things that could possibly happen. And it's sad to have those conversations, but I have to remind him when he's riding his bike out, you know, just stay on the street or stay on the sidewalk, or, you know, if someone looks at you crazy, come on back. You know, I'm calling him. He can't even really ride his bike without me calling to make sure he's okay. Because I don't ever want my son to leave to just go ride his bike and never return home. Because someone feared the size of him. And he's an absolute gentle giant, but some people may not see him that way. And so this brings me to the story that I'm talking about to hopefully help with those conversations at home. And I know what I'm talking about sounds like, oh my gosh, what is she about to say? But I feel like I'm pretty positive along with the media and everyone else, the people that influence your children, they grow the racism. My children are around all races almost all the time. There's nothing that we do that's quote unquote only African Americans. It's always a mixture of people down to our church. And I've actually had backlash about that from some of my friends and family because everything we do is so all inclusive, if for lack of better words. And I do that on purpose because I don't want them to think one-sided. You know, we meet some great people of all races. You know, we could be just as silly as anyone else. And I want them to understand that. But it's taught in the home at a very young age to love or hate. You know, so I'm really excited to talk about Sesame Street. And I know you're like, what on earth? Yeah, Sesame Street decided to add 2 Black Muppets to clearly talk about race and racism. Because it's difficult to explain to a child that's playing with another kid on the playground, and then once their parents, you know, see that interaction, and they're telling them you can't play with little Bobby because he's brown, or you can't play with little Susie because she's white. And you would think, my God, we are in the 2000s. Is that still happening? It is absolutely still happening. You know, so these conversations need to be had at a very young age, unfortunately. And fortunately. So Sesame Street is introducing 2 new Muppets, a Black father and a son, as a part of the efforts to help children understand racial literacy. And this is according to today.com. The 2 Muppets, Wes and Elijah, were introduced in a short video created by the Sesame Street Workshop, the nonprofit educational organization behind the long-time running show. And I know everybody that's viewing this, the people producing this, have watched Sesame Street. If you don't remember watching it as a kid, you definitely watched it with your children. In the video, Elmo wants to know why West's skin is brown. And so his father, Elijah, explains the concept of melanin and how the color of our skin is as important of part of who we are. And this is according to the press release from the Sesame Workshop. The Sesame Workshop also released a music video to the song Giant, where the Sesame Street Muppets celebrate their own unique identities. Another video featuring Rosita, her mother and her friends celebrate speaking Spanish and shows the Muppets helping Rosita cope after a racist incident. And this is one thing that I do in my family with my children, all of them. We all learn about other cultures. We learn from their food to the things that they practice, the things that they do, the things that they celebrate. It's funny because I'm the only person in my entire family that celebrates Cinco de Mayo or Dias los Muertos. And it's just to introduce them to something different. We go to before COVID, I made sure I took them to all the types of festivals, whether it be Chinese festival, the German festival, any type of festival or way that I can immerse them into a different culture or different people was something that I aimed at trying to do. So I'm pretty proud of Sesame Street for doing this. Additional new resources to support families who want to discuss race and racism with their children are being released as a part of the Sesame Workshop Coming Together series. So I'm really excited that they're also including information for parents if they want to research or maybe introduce more to their children. Here's a quote from the article. At Sesame Workshop, we look at every issue through the lens of a child. Children are not colorblind. Not only do they first notice differences in race in infancy, but they also start forming their own sense of identity at a very young age. Sesame Workshop Senior Vice President Dr. Jeanette Benacourt said in a statement, this is quoted from her, and that is absolutely true because we belong to several homeschool groups. And some of them, there's not very many, of people that look like me. And then some of them there is, so you always notice the difference in maybe they look at you or they ask these funny questions, they like to touch our hair for some reason, which is very funny to me. But that just shows me that there's not talks at home. They're not being talked to about different people and how they may look. And it's even within our own race. We could be tall, we could be short, we can have long hair, kinky hair, curly hair. It doesn't have to cross the color boundaries to be something totally different. I have family right now. I have an aunt that you would think she's white and she's not, she's black, but because her parents were from Louisiana, and all of that, her hair may look the same as the white person's hair or is straighter. Let me say it like that. It's straighter than my hair. So there's a lot of differences that children notice, and children are brutally honest. They're just going to say it. They're just going to ask a question. I believe we were at a homeschool group last week, and this little boy, it was so funny. He asked my son, why was he brown? But he was a little boy. He was little, so clearly he didn't understand why my son was brown and his color on his skin wasn't the same thing. And my son was very nice to him. He just answered him and he went on and kept on doing what he was doing. Also, another quote, by encouraging these much needed conversations through coming together, we can help children build a positive sense of identity and value the identities of others. And that's what I aim for. So that's why we spend a lot of time with not only with our African American history, but I spend time on other cultures and histories as well. So they can be around other people and understand. If we take a trip to Spain, they understand the Spanish culture. If we go to India, they may not fully grasp all of it, but they understand the gist of the Indian culture there. So it's very important for you to introduce these concepts to your children, preferably at an early age, because you never know who they're going to be in class with. You never know what type of kindergarten you're going to have until you arrive that day, and it's multicultural, and there may be someone there with an Indian type dress on, or, something that singles them out as a culture, that needs to be discussed, or why this person only eats this type of food or kosher food or what have you. So it's very important to have these conversations. And I am honestly excited to hear this about Sesame Street. That's one of the reasons why I brought it up to you today. And I know you probably like, Sesame Street has nothing to do with me, but it absolutely does. It shows us that the world is evolving and that we're starting to have these much needed conversations, so kids are not feeling so isolated if they happen to be the only African American in the room, or the only white in the room, the only Mexican American in the room. And my children have definitely experienced that and didn't think anything of it. For years, we have been in American Heritage and Trail Life, and my son and daughter has been the only African American for almost 4 years. So, and they didn't think anything of it. They wasn't treated any differently. They wasn't looked at any differently. We just went there. We learned, we engaged, we had fun. We participated in the things that we all participated in. Nobody worried about anything else about color or what have you. According to the press release, the series is rooted in extensive research and consultation with experts to develop a groundbreaking racial justice educational framework and curriculum for children. The resources are available online for free in English and Spanish and will be distributed through a wide range of national and community providers. So I say kudos to Sesame Street. I'm really excited about what they're doing. And again, take time to have these conversations with your children. It grows at home. What you talk about is what your kids believe. I always tell my kids, you want to know why I buy the same butter as my mother, and they'll say, why? Because that's what I grew up on, and that's probably what she grew up on. If I fester hate in my heart, what do you think my children are gonna do? They're here with me 24/7. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for tuning in to Relationship Entertainment TV. I hope I entertained you, inspired you, or educated you. And I will see you next week with the news you can use and the ish you don't want to miss. Thank you.